Hi guys and welcome to the new series, RobWD's Fantasy Premier League, where every week we will take a look back and a look forward at fantasy football, the Premier League, and a whopping 158 teams are in the YouTube Championship Classic League, and that's going to go up to 169 with people still waiting to be added this week because we're just too late off the gun in the first week, and 98 teams in the Classic Head-to-Head League as well. So thank you for joining in and participating, guys. Obviously you guys not just like football but like fantasy football as much as I do, then hopefully you'll enjoy this series where it's going to be cut into 4 pieces. The first part of every episode is going to be a roundup where we look back at Team of the Week, Player of the Week and Flop of the Week. And then the second part will be a look back at the predictions, because later on in the episode I'll give you an idea of players to avoid, players to pick, things like that. And the third part, so obviously there's no second part this week with it being week 1. The third part is where I'll give you my suggestions and advice, who to pick, who to avoid. And then the fourth part will go down to final thoughts about the up and coming action, or the action just gone, football talk in general, and some last pieces of advice. So if you like the idea of the series, please leave a like and maybe subscribe if you're new. Pop in the comments below as well what you think about the first week's action. So we're going to go straight into the roundup, and remember, obviously, for example, I think we can all agree that Matic yesterday had a wonderful match for Manchester United. However, fantasy league wise, I believe he only got 3 points. So when I talk about maybe player of the week or team of the week and things like that, I am usually going to be talking about the points for fantasy football. Of course, we can also discuss great performances, but this is primarily fantasy football with some football talk on the side. So, team of the week in real life and in fantasy football has got to go to Huddersfield. Amazing. First time in the Premier League in, what, 45 years, and they pulled off a 3-0 victory against Crystal Palace away from home. And the reason why team of the week in real life is a promoted team away from home winning 3-0 is amazing, but fantasy football wise, the striker scored 2 goals and it was a clean sheet. So basically, all across the pitch, everyone got bonus points for a clean sheet. And then if you managed to choose a striker, Meunier, he bagged a couple of goals as well. So it was a great team to pick this week, and well done to Huddersfield. Player of the week for me now. Again, I'm not just going to give it to the highest player. So, for example, if you whacked captain triple points, which some people did, apparently 37,000 people did triple captain on Lukaku this week, and people were thinking, oh, week 1, why would you do that? Well, he's answered his critics. He's just banged in a brace against West Ham and looking very, very fine in fine form. And, you know, obviously, players like that are going to be player of the week. But the ones that I'm going to choose for player of the week are the ones that you wouldn't think. And mine's going to go to Burnley's Vokes. Now, I'm surprised at actually how many people have chosen him, and they've done that because obviously Andre Gray has gone over to Watford. But if you would have told me the day before that Burnley-Chelsea game that Vokes was going to score 2 goals away at Stamford Bridge, I'd have laughed my arse off, and I think most people would. But some people took the risk and thought, well, he's going to play 90 minutes, he might bag maybe 1 goal, who knows, off a corner or set piece. Well, bang, he's got in a brace. So my player of the week has got to go to Vokes. And that's going to be the theme. You know, again, I could have chose someone like Salah, who got a lot of captain points, or Firmino, things like that. But I'm going to go for the players that were not obvious, were not a surprise. So, for example, I'm not going to say, if next week Kevin De Bruyne scores a hat-trick, I might give him player of the week because that's obviously a good feat, but it's expected of a player like that in a fixture like that. So, I am going to say player of the week definitely is going to go to Vokes at Burnley. Flop of the week, and it's got to go to Gary Cahill. He got you guys minus points for that sending off, as well as Chelsea conceding 3 goals, as well as him only lasting about 14 minutes. He should know better. He's the captain. He's got bags of experience. It's his first red card, I think, in 5 years. So it's not like a constant thing, but it's still very disappointing to see a very experienced England international player who's been in the Premier League for years now, making a silly lunging tackle like that, and obviously earning a lot of people minus points because he got a ton of points last season. Chelsea's defence was solid, a lot of people chose him, and obviously he's let a lot of people down. So the second part of this episode, obviously we're not going to do, it's a look back on predictions. I mean, we can predict that I have a predictions video on how the Premier League in total, in general, is going to pan out, and at the minute that is looking very likely. But again, we're scrapping the second part because there is no prediction. So we're going on to the third part of the episode, which is player picks and player dodges. So player picks this week, sort of two pieces of advice here. Basically, Liverpool. Again, obviously, their attacking force is looking phenomenal. And against at home to a Crystal Palace side. Of course, it's difficult. It was first game of the season for Palace. You don't know what to expect against a newly promoted team. But they're going away to home to Anfield, who's just bagged 3 goals away at Watford. And now they're going home. They're looking mean in attack, as always. So, for me, if you've got 1 or 2 Liverpool players, I'd still avoid the defence. But if you've got even a 5 million Emre Can is looking pretty tempting. The chances are Liverpool are going to score a couple of goals. They might concede, but I would be very surprised if Liverpool don't get at least 2 goals next week. But my one player pick, and this is because of the kind of maybe newish position he's playing at Man City, I'm going to go for David Silva. Now, a lot of people are laughing because now he looks a little bit like his idol, Stephen Ireland. But for me, he's an amazing player. He's only 8 million on fantasy football. Obviously, if you're going to play higher for the likes of Salah, he's 9 million. Dele Alli's 9.5 million. De Bruyne's 10 million. But for me, his kind of new role, I think he must have touched the ball the most in that Man City Brighton game. And now it seems like he's got a kind of free role where he keeps getting in behind defenders. So he might not end up scoring a lot, but I think he's going to get a lot of assists. And with the next City fixture that they've got, I do think that they're going to be getting, again, huge majority of possession, and I just have a feeling David Silva might even nick a goal this one because, like I said, he seems to have a more forward role now, getting in behind defenders. So many times he was getting in behind the Brighton defence. I think that's going to carry on in the next game. And player dodges for this week, again, Palace players. Particularly the Palace defence. I don't think they're going to go to Anfield and get a clean sheet if they can't get a clean sheet at home against Huddersfield. And I'm going to obviously say Swansea at home to Manchester United, who just banged 4 goals in, and it looks like their players are going to be gelling. I would not be against Lukaku getting even a hat-trick away at Swansea. My one player pick, though, it's going to go hypocritically, because he's in my team, but he's probably going to be on my bench, is Rob Holding. He's only 5 million. He had a great ending to last season. He has got a lot of potential. However, they are against, I believe it's Stoke City, away from home. If some players are getting back, I wouldn't be surprised if even they'll stick with Monreal as a centre-back and not start Holding, because he had a shocking start to the season against Leicester. So the reason why he's my player dodge is that for 5 million, chances are he's in a lot of people's starting 11, especially if he plays for Arsenal and they play 3 at the back. They're one of the top sides and they're going away to Stoke. People might have thought, oh, he's cheap, let's put him in. But I'm thinking he might actually not even play in the next game. So my final thoughts on the first week of fantasy football and the Premier League. It's City and United looking very, very strong. It was important that they gel early on, but City absolutely dominating possession. They sometimes think they need to think of a plan B, though. Brighton just sat back and it took them a long time to break through. No disrespect to Brighton, but if a slightly better team had the same tactics of sort of sitting back, City might end up with a lot of nil-nils this season. And United looking like the likes of Pogba are starting to... They look like they're going to hit it this season. And Matic, for my 2 cents, is going to be the best signing United's made. Not just because they did a great game yesterday, but he's the player that they need. The one who's going to break up the opposition's attack, win the ball back and just pass it simply. And it also gives Pogba a more free role to move forward. The likes of Pogba and Matic can now go forward and feel comfortable with Matic. Mourinho's comment is something like, Matic plays a simple game and simple is genius. And the quote makes sense. He doesn't try to flick. He doesn't try to do anything fancy. He'll get the ball off the opposition and he'll give a creative person the ball. And that is almost priceless if a player does it right. That's basically what Kante does. So Matic, still can't believe Chelsea sold him to Manchester United. But there you go. I think he could be the key to United's success this year. Standard Liverpool and Arsenal looking poor and shaky at the back. So avoid them at all costs, in my opinion, for Fantasy Premier League. But it's just a standard situation of Van Dijk going to Liverpool might help a lot. I do think tactically on set pieces they don't defend them very well anyway. But Arsenal look absolutely... If Koscielny's not in that starting 11 at the back, they absolutely crumble. And finally, congratulations to Huddersfield. First time in the top flight in so many years. Bagging a 3-0 win away from home. Absolutely sensational. So if you guys like the idea of this series, where I'll also put on the screen what the current standings are in the... I'll put only the first screen on because obviously I was so surprised. Like 200 teams in the league. So I'll put the first page and the last page on maybe. Just so I don't want to make anyone feel bad. But just to show you how the season is going. But if you like the idea of a fantasy football roundup and a bit of a chat about the Premier League every week, then let me know in the comments below. So thanks for your support, guys. Thanks for joining in the league. I can't believe there's so many people doing it. And as always, have a good one.